Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lizzie. I'm on a healing journey with MEN1 and today I wanted to come in and talk about how I got my body to start working for me rather than against me, even with a rare genetic endocrine condition. Let's jump straight in. I have found it very easy in this process, in this journey with MEN1, to honestly look at my body as the enemy and to feel as though it is constantly working against me and sabotaging me. I held this belief for so many years, and I really understand when people come to me and they say, like, what's the point in me doing all this healing work when my body is just like malfunctioning automatically against me? There's nothing that I can do about it. I had that belief, but I had to shift it in order to get myself to where I am now, which is medication-free, surgery-free, and symptom-free in MEN1. And today I wanted to share with you how I shifted that belief and how I'm getting those results. So the first really important thing to say is that I had to address that belief that my body was somehow the enemy. My body is not the enemy. My symptoms are not the problem. Everything there is a messenger. It's communicating with me and I need to listen to it. So that belief that I was being worked against by my body, it came from this mindset that somehow my body is just a random collection of parts. The mind is completely separate and it's all separate from my identity, me, and my core essence. My experience has actually shown completely otherwise, which is that the body is always designed to heal itself, even with a genetic condition. And I know it will sound so illogical, so stay with me, but it is always trying. The body, any body's like living organism is always trying to return itself to a state of homeostasis, which is internal balance. Homeostasis is what nature is trying to get us back to. Disease doesn't mean that the body is working against me or working against itself. It means that something in that self-healing mechanism has been thwarted. A podcast guest of mine recently said this, Dr. Erin. She told me that the body is meant to heal. And when disease comes into play, it's because something in that mechanism has stopped working. And instead of looking at what has stopped that self-healing mechanism from working, we just start to dive in and fix the problem. Very often, it is something trauma related. What I mean by trauma is that when the body has been able to not meet its needs, the body will compensate in some way, shape or form. And when this happens, the body becomes compromised and it gets used to this state. And the mind, whatever the mind plays out in terms of thoughts or beliefs, will keep the body in that state unless we actively go in and heal it. And when I saw myself as separate to my body, as something that was trying to stop it from working against me, I saw it as like the enemy, as something to fight. But the truth is that my body, whilst it presents me the symptoms, it also holds the key to me solving those symptoms. And I really had to listen to it and follow that map. So now I try no longer to defeat the disease, it's more about listening to it. It's what I mentioned before, symptoms are not the problem, they are the signal. I had to stop seeing a symptom as something that I wanted to get away from or get rid of or change, but more a messenger for something deeper that was going on and something that I really needed to sit with, to stay with that discomfort and to listen to it, to listen to the answer. What I found with traditional medicine is that it focuses on removing the symptom. The problem is that we remove the symptom and the problem still persists. And in my case, symptoms were actually the clue to what was going on underneath the surface. If I didn't have the symptoms, I never would have been able to heal what was underneath. So I had to be grateful for those symptoms, in a manner of speaking. The gene mutation alone doesn't explain the symptoms. For me, it's so much about emotional unease that I just hadn't acknowledged and hadn't processed, and that my body had held on to that trauma, that unprocessed emotion, and an inability to try and meet my needs at that time, it had compromised, and disease was the result. I would never have known how to listen to my body. I think like a lot of people would just avoid discomfort, if at all possible, but it was the discomfort that was the signal. And of course we want to move away from discomfort. It's horrible to stay there, but actually sometimes I've realised I've had to stay with that discomfort in order to move through it. And it was my body's way of asking for attention. I love Dr. Gabor Mate. He's an absolute expert on trauma, particularly from a more medical lens. And he says, if you don't listen to the body now, it will make you stop and listen. And that's exactly what symptoms are doing. They are an alarm bell to say, whoa, stop. Something in this amazing mechanism has been thwarted and we need to look at it. We need to address what's going on. The third point I want to make is that I was able to change my mindset from my body's working against me to my body's working for me. I was able to get my body to heal and to show me the path to healing. So instead of seeing my body as the thing in the way to the life I wanted to have, I started to see it as what was going to show me the path to get there. The symptoms were the signposts. When I listened really, really deeply, they actually led me somewhere towards what I needed healing, even if I didn't understand why. And sometimes I don't understand why, and I still don't understand why, and I've had to let go of that. But that's the thing, is the symptom is the signpost. Actually, these days I don't have MEN1 symptoms, but I still have tension, I have tightness, I have a holding on, I have a gripping, and all of that is telling me something about the way I'm living my life and how that is showing up in my body. Yoga is actually my daily check-in. It creates space for me to hear my body, really hear my body, even if it's just for a few minutes every day. And that space is so important because it is just me and my yoga mat and no distraction. And we live in a world of distraction nowadays. It is so easy for my attention to be drawn here, there, and everywhere. And I believe that's why there is so much disease around, because we are so distracted from what's going on in our body. And we are so obsessed with these quick fix ways of getting rid of symptoms, i.e. getting rid of the problem, but it's not really getting rid of the problem at all. My body, I know, is always guiding me back to balance, back to that homeostasis. Really, my only job is to listen and trust where it leads me. It is very intangible. It's not really logical, and I get that, and I've been there, and I've had my battle with it as well. I really have. There was a time when I couldn't understand at all how yoga or feeling into my body could possibly help with a disease, particularly because it was a genetic mutation. I was like, it's genetic. But here's what I found. The more resistance I had to someone telling me to listen to my body or that I could feel in order to heal, the more it stoked my curiosity, and I felt more resistant and yet more curious at the same time to lean into it. And it did point to something worth exploring in my experience. The more I lent in and the more I stayed with it, the more I shifted and the more I discovered. And the better things got and the more my body responded, the more my symptoms dissipated and healthier I became, the more well I became. And that is a response that I cannot deny. I've got no logical explanation for it, but it is what happened. And I always think about long before we had labels or scans or diagnoses, all humans had were physical sensations to be able to feel their disease, to be able to identify what it was. And they just had to listen to them. And they had to go with their intuition. And I think that's so important because it is so easy to get up into my head when really the answers are all coming from inside of here. My body is giving me the answers if I choose to tune in and listen to them. And actually, the more I've healed, the less that I've needed the labels and the diagnoses and the prescriptions, even the doctors and the interventions. I'm not saying that they're a bad thing. I think they're really good and they have their space and time. But the less I've been reliant on those to understand my health and to get better, I've actually pulled the power back into my own hands. And I can say now with absolute confidence, my body is absolutely working for me, not against me. And I think it always was. I just didn't really know how to listen at the time. If any of this has resonated with you and you want to see exactly how I'm reversing my symptoms without meds and without surgery, I've actually put it all into a free guide. If you drop down into the description box below, you'll find the link, pop your email address in and I'll be able to send it to you, and it takes you through all the very tangible things I'm doing to get myself from where I was, so facing my third round of surgery, to where I am now, no surgery on the horizon. Thank you so much for joining, and I will look forward to sharing again with you next week.